Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits episode commentary. This one's going to be for K204 Civil Wars Part 2, second part of the two-parter. This episode, my commentary starts with the intro of the episode, so get your version of the episode ready to go, including that fire, earth, air, water opening with the avatars. And I'm going to stop speaking now in a minute. And when I start speaking again, that's when you hit play on your episode, and then you'll be synced up with my commentary track. So I'm going to stop speaking now. Okay, so here is Civil Wars Part 2. As I said, the second part of this two-parter very early on in the season. The first episode really heavily, I think, is more about civil wars, as in familial wars going on, as we kind of discussed with the whole Tenzin Bumi Kaya issue, and then Korra and her parents issue. There is the actual plot of the civil war happening, with Varrick trying to kind of incite a war, and obviously Unalaq kind of taking over the south to be an actual civil war, but it's primarily character focused is the main thing here. But yeah, this is also a pretty good episode, one of the best of the early ones. 2, 3, and 4 I think are some really solid episodes early on in the book. The weaker episodes early on I think are 5 and 6. But continuing straight on, Korra's parents are taken away, and now that she's made up with them, she turns her anger towards Unalaq. She doesn't quite turn on him here and realize that he's fully evil yet, but she can't believe that he's doing this to her own family. He's part of the family, and obviously it's later revealed in the episode that he's hired the judge. And the thing is, Unalaq has basically no proof of the Tonraq being involved, and especially Senna being involved. He was actually there when the guy who kidnapped Unalaq said no. Unalaq didn't do it. Tonraq didn't do it. I mean, there's some really fun stuff going on with Varrick in this episode in that platypus bear costume. It's really good. I really do like the Esko-Bolin relationship, especially considering where it goes later on in the book. But we see that Eska and Desna are very much kind of Unalaq's kind of lackeys here. They're definitely family, you can tell, but the way he treats them is not really that kind of as if they're his kids so much. It's interesting. Really unique kind of relationship here with the way that she always treats him as a slave, yet still seems to like him. It's really weird. And then Assam, he just don't let her treat you like that. Yeah, Mako actually gave him good advice, but he didn't do it correctly. Tell her how you really feel, and Bolin struggles with that. I think it's just brilliant that not only Varrick is in the suit, but Julie's in there as well. That's brilliant. And then the whole kind of joke, I think, is there's no honey in here or something like that. That's great too. It's just so absurd that it's brilliant. Varrick is just a really entertaining character. Even if his plot isn't the best over the course of the book, he's just a really good character on screen who really kind of takes over the scenes that he's involved in. I love the way Roundback is just, pooping out money. It's brilliant, and then they make the joke later on in the episode about it as well. I think it's fantastic. And then he's giving them the money to bribe the judge so that the rebels won't go to prison. And Bolin is obviously doing this because he wants to save Tonraq and Senna, but Varrick just wants to do it to keep his rebels, who actually did commit a crime, to get out of prison. It's an interesting thing that you really see in these later episodes, that Varrick is responsible for the kind of war going off. But we instantly join Iki with her group of baby Sky Bison. I didn't expect this at all, and it's just so cute. My Little Sky Bison right here. Spin off Avatar show coming next year. Not really, but it should be. And it's interesting to what she's talking about, and that she talks about really disliking her siblings and how these are her new siblings in a way. And then it's a great father daughter relationship, and he realizes he hasn't spent much time with her and goes to join them. Blueberry Spicehead, and all of these names for these characters are brilliant. Princess Rainbow, Twinkle Starchild, and Juniper Lightning Bug. It's such a cute scene, but it's also really important for like both of these characters in that Iki teaches Tenzin something about having family, how to deal with his own siblings, and he just gives her more time that maybe she hasn't had with him. It's there's some really nice kind of just character moments in these episodes that I don't think Korra gets enough credit for. Avatar: The Last Airbender is said to be the real character-driven show because it's got a lot of character-focused episodes, but there's some really good stuff in these early episodes. One of the funniest moments of book two right here, Bolin attempting to bribe someone, and he gives the money to just two randomers that can't do anything when he was meant to give the money to the judge, Judge Hotak. And then he realizes it, and then the Sami's reaction is kind of priceless. He's just like, "What is wrong with you?" And we get a court scene. We got one in book one. We got one in book two. They need to continue the trend into book three and four, definitely. And Korra's forced to like admit some of the stuff that she saw here that maybe she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to reveal that this stuff took place in her in her family house and stuff like this. I just love the little bit of humor there with Bolin popping up saying objection. Declare a mistrial. mm. And obviously, this is a rigged trial, and that's why he was so pointed with the questions. You'll note that the actual guys who kidnapped Unalaq weren't questioned, because you would have had the guy from the last episode who said we went to get Tonrock involved, but he didn't agree to it. And here we get the kind of proposal thing. They're going to be wed at Sunsetter, I think is the thing. And this just came out of nowhere, but it kind of fits perfectly because they're not playing it up overly seriously, and you just really feel bad for Bolin because you sort of know he's not going to actually get married to her, but it's just kind of so over the top. It makes for a nice change in the shipping, which is actually super dramatic. At least Senna's found innocent because she was just not involved at all. um, but still, like, I'd love to see what the evidence is. Are they really going to find him guilty just because a meeting with these people happened the day before and he wasn't actually involved afterwards? And then death is just like so over the top in terms of what the sentence is. It's pretty crazy. Lovely background art there. Um, oh, and then like instantly she inspires fear in this judge here, and just really harsh, kind of speaking out of turn. But that's kind of who Korra is. She's kind of confrontational and all this sort of stuff. And then Unlock kind of becomes the hero here when he's the one to go over to the judge, who he's hired to give this over the top verdict, and then he says that, you know, because you've asked, I'll spare their lives, but you'll spend your lives in prison. And this is Unlock's plan to get Tonrock out of the way so the South can't kind of rebel behind him because Tonrock is the leader. And you know he's got in good with Korra now because he saved her father's life. It's a lot of nice manipulation from Unalaq. Tenzin getting into it. He actually knows how to handle the baby bison. it's just. And then Tenzin kind of brings up his own issues with his siblings, and Iki likes them because she doesn't be with them too often, and she points out the good points about the two of them, which Tenzin maybe has forgotten about because of the arguments. And then he asks her to bring up the good points about her own siblings, Milo and Janora. And they both kind of are just, it's about seeing the other person's side of things and not just like relying on the heat of the moment emotions. Being part of a family is hard, and that's the key line. And I love that Iki was the one to say it as opposed to Tenzin, showing that the kids can teach you things as well. And then the whole metaphor, I suppose, similarity between the human families and then the sky bison family. That the bison fight all the time, animal fight, just like humans fight, and that's fine. That thing just happens in families sometimes. For that to be the thing that kind of brings them back together is just really nice. And then, like, poor Oogie's got some competition here with but Tenzin's new bison friend here. And then Korra ready straight away to bust her father out of prison, especially because she feels a little bit guilty still over like everything that's happened, thinking that he could have actually done some of this. She's eager to um, try and help him as best anyways possible, and she agrees to like help not do anything rash. But seeing her mother crying here over the loss of her husband in prison is kind of too much for her to take, and she just has to do something. And a lot of people criticize Korra for doing this, what she does next, actually go after the judge, but she realized something was wrong, and she actually went ahead and did something here. Yes, there's the whole thing of like if she was wrong and if the guy wasn't actually hired by Unalaq, what would have happened? But she knew something was up at the very least. She went after him, and yep. And then the scene coming up here, a lot of people complain about, was she really going to have Naga like kill this guy if he didn't say the right thing? But Korra was never going to just kill the guy over this. She knows that this is a guy who she can intimidate because, as she said, I'll take your life, and he got really frightened, and he's going to be really frightened here. And then this is where the reveal comes out that Unalaq is in fact a villain. Korra finding this out, and it's important. Great scene there, just that she's willing to put the guy's head in Naga's mouth. He's trying to keep her on his side while getting Tonrock out of the way. And then also the reveal that Unalaq got Tonrock banished. That is big. That it's eventually revealed he hired the barbarians and stuff like that. But nice emotional scene here between Boomy and the statue of Aang. Just especially coming from an older kind of character in the series, it's pretty emotional though. Not something you really expect from Boomy as a character because he's always doing these crazy stories. And then it's revealed that he's actually kind of crying here a bit. And then this is kind of like a theme of book 2. She goes to Varric to get advice on these sort of things, but it's just because Mako and Asami are there. And then she realizes here, like a lot of people say that she didn't realize she was starting a civil war, but I think she does really know that this is kind of deep. She's getting in deep here in that she is going to start a war by going against Unalaq and trying to supporting the South against him. It's it's really interesting to see how it goes because a lot of people blame Korra for a lot of the stuff that happens, but what other kind of path did she really have? Lie big and leave fast. That's Varric's motto. Ping ping the platypus bear. And then they just they're pretty much experts now at breaking people out and invading different places. Team Avatar, they know exactly what to do. And here is the confrontation. The first, well, the first one of them. We don't get the next one really until much later on in the book. But interesting that he just confronts Korra here, and they have a brief skirmish with no clear winner in terms of who's actually the more powerful bender. They kind of keep Unalaq's skills kind of under wraps until the end of the book. And he uses his intelligence kind of against her, you know. You can't do this because you're the Avatar. This will create this sort of feeling towards yourself. And that's a big thing for Korra to say to Unalaq. Him being so spiritual, he must have wished so much that his own daughter was the Avatar, and for him to find out that his unspiritual brother has the Avatar as his daughter, that must have like really kind of killed him, as she says. And then he's actually wrong here. I love that. He just tries to be really confident, but he actually is wrong. He can't open the portal without her. He needs her. And it's just interesting that is actually a big confidence moment for Korra. We see how powerful he is, but that he can be beaten in a bending battle. And it's Korra's airbending that's kind of the thing there. She finally uses it, I suppose, in a more typical airbender way, and that gives her the advantage. Oh, here's this. This is a really funny moment here coming up. Bolin in his wedding outfit, basically. Do the thing. We'll see. We'll hear that multiple times. And then the sound effect, pooping money, the guy. It's great and perfect way to distract people in a big city. Throw money around, and you'll distract everyone. And then the fact that he doesn't get out of the bear costume to drive the ship, he just does it as the platypus bear, is just brilliant. I think it's that perfect Avatar random humor. And then he has a plane on his ship. But I love that they point out the kind of absurdness of this, that he doesn't have a runway big enough for it to take off. But there's obviously bending to help them with that. And he's like, take a note, build a runway on this ship. So I think when he comes back, probably in book 3 or 4, as we suspect, he'll have a ship with a runway on it. I think that has to be one of these kind of running jokes. But yeah, this is a brilliant moment. Korra and Mako together, the couple on Asami's plane, helping her to get the kind of booster rocket takeoff. So Korra can clear a path through the blockade. It's actually a really nice action scene using the increased technology that we have in Korra. And then she uses the Avatar state properly this time. She wasn't joking around with it like she was in the opening episode. She actually properly uses it like Aang or Kyoshi, Roku would have used, and great way to kind of get through the blockade. And like just there, that little smile from Korra was really well animated. And here's that joke. You're never going to believe this. It's great. And then it just goes to show that Unalaq kind of feared his brother. He's such a big figure, Tonrock, in the south that he needed to get rid of him to kind of ease his way into the war. And Korra, despite making some rash decisions in this episode, ultimately did it for the good in that the South further realized that they needed Tonrock as their leader, and eventually it was revealed that to everyone that Unalaq was behind everything. And then the boat pulls up and they're away. Um, there is some great moments coming up here with Korra and her father. And we see the family reunions here. Iki returning, as well as, I suppose, the reunion of the Katang siblings as well. The first time Milo says a line that's not weird or something like that, not crazy, and just the way the kids get over it instantly. They're just like, yeah, sorry, sorry. Do you want to play? And they're away. And the way it's a bit more complicated with the adults, but there's the same theory that they just need to apologize for these things. And it's a even apology. Avatar does these really well. Just has these moments where they don't blame anyone for everything. There's always a kind of reason for like all these different personalities coming together behind it. What a great picture! Tumblr just went crazy when this went up. Such a kind of cute photo. That's the sort of moments where we've been dying to see the Katang family when they had the young kids, just to see how Aang and Katara were as kind of parents, just with the young kids. Love to get a comic or even some kind of animated short on that. Tonrock stepping up, he's kind of ran away from her for a long time, and now he's kind of standing up to his brother. And this is the South kind of coming together as a kind of basically like unifying themselves or becoming individualistic. God, why can't I pronounce that? But showing how smart Tonrock is, he needs the support of the United Forces to beat the superior Northern forces, and they accept him as their leader now, basically. So that's good. And she realizes it. Like that, I think that's the key thing. She realizes she started a civil war, but it was something that needed to happen because she realized how important it was to kind of beat Unalaq. And what an interesting way, kind of as a cliffhanger, kind of funny cliffhanger to end the episode. Eska stood up at her wedding day, coming after Bolin, and then the joke of, why do you think I built this thing? As like he built it so that he could get away from his past girlfriend. It's a really funny way to end the episode. I think Civil Wars Part 1 is probably the better episode, but it comes together really well as a two-parter, I think, in that you have the Iki, Sky Bison, Tenzin scenes. It's just this really nice, these family moments between her and her father, and you also have, I suppose, Korra trying to make amends for not trusting her father in the last episode after the apology. Really, I think solid two-parter here. I think the next two episodes are the weaker episodes of Book Two: Spirits, Peacekeepers, and then The Sting. But after that comes the two strongest episodes, and then again a strong ending to the season. So I'm looking forward to the episodes coming up. Not that like Peacekeepers and The Sting, they're not bad episodes. They just, I think, end up coming out maybe bottom of the pile in this season. But yeah, we'll get to those in the future. So thanks for listening to this episode commentary, and bye.